Real power is not found in raising your voice, proving your point, or reacting faster than everyone else. Real power is found in the moment you feel the surge of emotion and choose not to obey it. Most people never notice this moment. They rush past it, pulled by anger, pride, fear, or the need to be right. And in that instant, control quietly slips away. This loss repeats daily until exhaustion replaces awareness and reaction becomes a habit permanently. A single message can ruin your mood. One careless comment can hijack your entire day. An unexpected look, a tone of voice, or a moment of disrespect can trigger reactions you later regret. This is not because you are weak. It is because you were never taught how to pause. You were trained to respond, defend, explain, and react, not to observe and choose. That difference determines whether emotions lead you or serve you in difficult moments under pressure daily. There is a crucial distinction this audiobook will return to again and again. Feeling an emotion is human. Reacting without awareness is optional. Emotions are signals, not commands. They rise to inform you, not to control you. When you confuse feeling with reacting, you surrender your authority. When you separate them, you reclaim choice, dignity, and inner leadership. This skill determines how you handle conflict, pressure, loss, and unexpected challenges calmly without sacrificing respect, clarity, or long-term self-control. This audiobook is not about becoming emotionless or cold. It is not about suppressing anger, fear, or sadness. Suppression creates pressure, and pressure always finds a way out. This journey is about mastery. It is about learning to feel deeply while acting deliberately. It is about keeping the right to choose your response, even when everything inside you wants to react. That ability defines maturity, strength, and personal power over time, especially during moments that normally provoke impulsive emotional decisions. Throughout these chapters, you will learn why calm people seem untouchable in chaotic environments. You will understand why those who do not react often hold the strongest positions. They are not passive. They are precise. They move slower, see clearer, and act from intention rather than impulse. This control shapes how others treat them, trust them, and respond to their presence. It influences opportunities, respect, negotiations, and long-term outcomes in life across careers, relationships, leadership roles, and personal growth. This audiobook is structured as a training, not a lecture. Each part builds a specific internal skill. You will learn how to create space under pressure, how to disengage from provocation, and how to regulate your nervous system. These are practical abilities, not ideas. They compound over time, changing how you think, speak, decide, and move through the world. What begins as effort slowly becomes identity, calm becoming your default response when pressure appears unexpectedly and challenges demand emotional discipline. As you listen, do not rush. Let the ideas settle. Notice your own reactions as they arise. This audiobook is not meant to be consumed quickly, but practiced daily. The goal is simple and demanding: to stop handing your power to circumstances, people, and moods. To remain steady when others lose control. This is where leadership of self begins. It starts the moment you choose awareness over reaction, again and again until control feels natural, grounded, and quietly unshakable inside. Chapter 1. Why reacting makes you weak, even when you're right. Most people believe strength is proven by immediate response. They think power shows up in quick comebacks, sharp words, decisive reactions, and emotional intensity. When someone crosses a line, the instinct is to respond instantly, to correct, to defend, to assert dominance. This behavior is praised, reinforced, and often mistaken for confidence. But beneath that surface lies a deeper truth most people never confront. Reacting does not make you strong. It makes you predictable, controllable, and exposed. The moment you react, you give something away. You surrender control of timing, tone, and direction. Your nervous system takes over, your reasoning narrows, and your behavior becomes driven by emotion instead of intention. Even when you are right, reacting weakens your position. Being correct does not matter if your response costs you clarity, respect, or leverage. Strength is not measured by how fast you respond, but by how well you choose. Think about moments when you reacted emotionally. Perhaps you raised your voice, sent a message you later regretted, or tried to explain yourself when no explanation was required. In those moments, did you feel powerful afterward or drained? Most reactions feel justified in the moment and disappointing afterward. That is because reactions satisfy emotion, not strategy. They release tension temporarily, but they leave consequences behind. Reacting is often driven by the ego's need to protect identity. The ego hates being challenged, ignored, misunderstood, or disrespected. When this happens, it demands immediate action. It wants to prove something, to win, to be seen as right. But every time you obey that impulse, you hand control to whoever triggered you. They decide your mood, your behavior, and your energy. That is not power. That is dependence disguised as confidence. True strength is quiet because it does not need validation. It does not rush to defend itself. It understands that not every challenge deserves engagement. When you react automatically, you reveal your emotional buttons. People learn how to provoke you, manipulate you, and pull you into their frame. Calm individuals, on the other hand, remain unreadable. Their restraint creates uncertainty, and uncertainty creates respect. Being right is one of the most dangerous justifications for reacting. Many people destroy relationships, careers, and reputations while standing on the truth. Correctness without control turns into self-sabotage. You can win an argument and lose trust. You can expose a flaw and damage your image. You can speak the truth and still weaken your position if your delivery is fueled by emotion rather than intention. Consider conflict at work, in relationships, or online. The person who reacts emotionally often feels momentarily relieved, but they lose long-term influence. The calm individual who pauses, listens, and responds deliberately controls the rhythm of the interaction. They decide when to speak, what to reveal, and what to ignore. This control shifts the balance of power without raising a voice. Reacting is also exhausting. Constant emotional responses keep your nervous system in a state of alert. Over time, this creates stress, irritability, and burnout. You may believe you are standing your ground, but internally, you are paying a high price. Emotional discipline preserves energy. It allows you to choose battles wisely and invest attention where it matters. Weakness is not feeling emotion. Weakness is being ruled by it. Strong people feel anger, frustration, and disappointment just as deeply as anyone else. The difference is that they do not let those feelings dictate their actions. They create space between stimulus and response. In that space, choice lives. Choice is the foundation of power. When you stop reacting automatically, something shifts. You begin to observe rather than engage. You notice patterns instead of personalities. You see provocation as information, not a command. This perspective changes how you move through the world. You become less reactive and more strategic, less defensive and more grounded. This does not mean you become passive or silent forever. It means your actions become intentional. When you do respond, your words carry weight because they are rare, measured, and calm. People listen differently when you speak from control rather than emotion. Your presence changes. You no longer chase respect. You embody it. Reacting feels strong because it is familiar. Control feels uncomfortable because it requires restraint. But restraint is not weakness. It is discipline. It is the ability to hold back in the moment so you can move forward with clarity later. This discipline separates those who are controlled by their emotions from those who lead themselves. The goal of this chapter is not to shame reaction, but to expose its cost. Once you see how reacting weakens you, you can no longer unsee it. Awareness is the first step toward mastery. From here forward, the question is no longer whether you are right. The question is whether your response serves your long-term power or hands it away in the heat of the moment. Remember this distinction as you move forward. Strength is not loud. It is not rushed. It does not need witnesses. Strength is the ability to remain composed when emotion demands movement. Each time you resist an unnecessary reaction, you reinforce a new identity. You become someone who cannot be easily shaken. This foundation will support everything that follows in this audiobook, because without control, no insight lasts and no growth holds. This awareness marks the beginning of true emotional authority and unshakable inner leadership today forward. Chapter 2. The space between feeling and action is where power lives. There is a moment that determines the quality of your life, yet most people pass through it without ever realizing it exists. It appears after an emotion rises, but before an action is taken. In that brief space, everything is decided. Your dignity, your clarity, your long-term power. This space is small, almost invisible, but it holds more authority than any reaction ever could. When an emotion appears, it feels immediate and overwhelming. Anger tightens the jaw, fear accelerates the breath, shame heats the chest. These sensations are automatic. They are biological responses shaped by survival, not by wisdom. You do not choose their arrival, but what follows is where responsibility begins. Between the feeling and the behavior, there is a pause. That pause is not a weakness. It is freedom. Most people have never trained in this space. They feel and act in the same instant. Emotion flows directly into behavior without interruption. Over time, this becomes a reflex. Reaction replaces reflection. The nervous system learns speed instead of awareness. Eventually, the pause disappears completely, and life becomes a series of automatic responses driven by external triggers. The space between feeling and action is awareness in its purest form. It is the moment you notice what is happening inside you without immediately trying to escape it. When you step into this space, you stop being consumed by emotion and start observing it. You are no longer inside the storm. You are standing on solid ground, watching the storm pass without being pulled into its force. This pause does not need to be dramatic or long. Sometimes it is one slow breath. Sometimes it is choosing not to send a message immediately. Sometimes it is remaining silent when the urge to explain or defend yourself feels unbearable. That small delay interrupts the emotional loop. It tells your nervous system that you are not in danger, even when your body feels activated. With repetition, this pause becomes stronger, clearer, and easier to access. Inside this space, choice returns. Instead of asking how to react, you begin asking what truly serves you. This single shift transforms your behavior. You move from impulse to intention, from emotional discharge to deliberate action, from short-term relief to long-term control. This is where personal authority begins to form. People who lack this pause are easy to influence. Their emotional buttons are exposed. Anyone can provoke them, distract them, or pull them into unnecessary conflict. Their mood becomes dependent on messages, comments, and circumstances. But those who cultivate space become difficult to manipulate. They do not rush. They do not chase resolution. They allow emotions to rise and fall without obeying them. This is why calm individuals appear powerful in chaotic environments. It is not because they feel less. It is because they wait. They understand that emotions peak and dissolve when they are not fed by action. They trust time more than impulse. While others rush to release tension, they remain grounded and steady. Training in this space requires practice, not theory. One of the most effective tools is conscious breathing. When emotion rises, slow the breath deliberately. Extend the exhale longer than the inhale. This signals safety to the nervous system. Safety restores access to reasoning. Reasoning restores choice. What feels urgent begins to feel manageable. Another powerful tool is naming the emotion internally. Saying, "This is anger," or "This is fear," creates distance. Distance weakens urgency. Urgency is what drives reaction. When urgency fades, clarity naturally returns. You begin to see the situation instead of being trapped inside it. Silence is also a form of space. Not every situation deserves an immediate response. Delaying engagement is not avoidance. It is discernment. Silence creates room for information to reveal itself. Often, people expose their intentions, insecurities, or contradictions when you do not rush to fill the gap. This pause becomes your anchor under pressure. In moments of conflict or stress, those without it panic. Those with it remain composed. They think while others react. They decide while others defend. Over time, this difference compounds into authority, trust, and quiet influence. The world rewards those who act deliberately. Leaders, negotiators, and disciplined individuals rely on this pause to maintain control. It separates signal from noise. It protects long-term goals from short-term emotion. It allows you to move with precision instead of force. You do not need to eliminate emotion to access this power. You need to respect the pause. Each time you honor it, you strengthen self-trust. You prove to yourself that restraint is possible. That proof builds confidence deeper than any reaction ever could. As you continue through this audiobook, return to this principle again and again. Power does not arrive through force, it arrives through space. That space is always available, but only if you slow down enough to enter it. When you do, you reclaim the ability to choose who you are in every moment, regardless of what you feel. This is where true emotional mastery begins. It is in this repeated choice, made quietly and consistently, that your character is reshaped. Each pause strengthens your inner structure. Each delayed reaction reinforces discipline. Over time, this practice changes how others experience you and how you experience yourself. Calm becomes familiar, control becomes natural, and the space you once overlooked becomes the foundation of your strength under pressure, conflict, uncertainty, and emotionally charged moments. Chapter 3. Not everything deserves a reaction. One of the greatest sources of emotional exhaustion in modern life is the belief that everything deserves your response. Every comment, every message, every look, every perceived slight feels like a demand on your attention. You are conditioned to believe that silence means weakness and that engagement means strength. Over time, this belief drains your energy, fragments your focus, and keeps your nervous system permanently alert. Power is not found in responding to everything. Power is found in knowing what to ignore. Most reactions are not necessary. They are habitual. You respond because you always have. You react because it feels uncomfortable not to. You engage because silence feels like losing. But silence, when chosen deliberately, is not lost. It is selection. It is the conscious decision to conserve energy for what actually matters. Every unnecessary reaction is a small leak in your emotional reserve. Not everything that provokes you deserves access to your inner world. Many triggers are designed to pull you out of alignment. Arguments with no resolution. Opinions that carry no consequence. Provocations that exist only to extract emotion. When you react to everything, you live at the mercy of noise. Your attention scatters. Your emotional state becomes unstable. Life begins to feel heavier than it needs to be. The ability to choose what deserves a reaction is a form of intelligence. It requires perspective and patience. It requires humility to accept that not every battle is worth fighting, even when you are right, especially when you are right. Correctness does not always equal importance. Many conflicts are designed to consume time, not to resolve truth. Every time you react to something trivial, you elevate it. You give it weight it did not earn. You teach others how to access your emotions. Over time, people learn how to distract you, irritate you, and pull you into unnecessary conflict. This is not because they are powerful, it is because you are available. Availability without discernment invites chaos. Strong individuals are selective. They do not respond out of reflex. They pause and assess. Before engaging, they ask a quiet internal question. Does this matter in an hour? Does it matter tomorrow? Will it matter in a year? If the answer is no, silence becomes wisdom rather than avoidance. This is how emotional discipline protects long-term peace. Selectivity also protects your nervous system. Constant reaction trains the body to expect threats everywhere. Over time, this creates irritability, anxiety, and chronic tension. When you begin to ignore what does not matter, your system relearns safety. Calm becomes familiar. Clarity returns. You stop living in defense mode. Ignoring is not denial. It is prioritization. Denial is fear-based. Prioritization is power-based. You are not pretending something does not exist. You are choosing not to invest energy in it. This distinction is essential. You can fully acknowledge a provocation and still decide it does not deserve your response. Many people fear that if they do not react, they will be disrespected. In reality, constant reaction invites disrespect. It signals that you are easily moved. Silence, when paired with consistency and self-respect, creates boundaries without explanation. People sense when access is limited. That limitation commands respect without confrontation. This principle applies everywhere. In conversations, in relationships, online, at work. You do not owe everyone your opinion. You do not owe every accusation a defense. You do not owe every misunderstanding a correction. Sometimes the most powerful response is none at all. Silence allows truth to reveal itself without interference. Learning not to react requires tolerance for discomfort. Silence can feel heavy at first. The urge to explain, correct, or retaliate will rise strongly. Let it rise. Observe it. Do not obey it. This is how discipline is built. Each time you resist a meaningless reaction, you strengthen your ability to choose under pressure. Over time, something shifts internally. You become less entangled in other people's emotions. You stop carrying conflicts that were never yours. Your attention sharpens. Your energy stabilizes. You begin to move through life with intention instead of obligation. Your presence becomes calmer and more grounded. This does not mean you never respond. It means your responses become deliberate. When you do speak, it carries weight. People listen differently because your words are not impulsive. They are measured. They are rare. Silence turns your voice into a signal rather than noise. Choosing not to react is an act of self-respect. It says your peace matters. It says your focus is protected. It says your emotional world is not open to every disturbance. This choice reshapes your identity. You become someone who is not easily shaken, not easily provoked, and not easily controlled. As you practice this principle, you will notice how much of life does not require your involvement. The relief is immediate, the strength is gradual, and the freedom is profound. Not everything deserves a reaction, but everything in your life improves when you choose wisely. Conserve your energy and protect your inner stability with intention, restraint, and quiet confidence. Chapter 4. How calm becomes a weapon. In chaotic situations, chaos exposes people. When pressure rises, most individuals lose access to clarity. Their voice changes, their body tightens, their thinking narrows. In moments of conflict, urgency replaces judgment. Emotion takes control and behavior follows. This is where calm separates itself from noise. Calm is not passive. Calm is leverage. When everything around you feels unstable, the person who remains composed automatically gains authority. This is not because they dominate the room, but because they control themselves. While others react, explain, defend, or escalate, the calm individual slows the pace. That shift alone changes the balance of power. Whoever controls the tempo controls the outcome. Calm has weight in chaotic situations because it creates contrast. In a loud environment, silence stands out. In emotional intensity, restraint becomes noticeable. People instinctively look toward the one who is not panicking. They listen to the one who is not rushing. Calm signals safety, and safety attracts attention and trust. Many people mistake calmness for weakness because it does not look aggressive. But aggression is often a sign of internal instability. Calm requires strength. It requires the ability to regulate the nervous system while pressure is applied. It requires discipline to resist the urge to react when reaction feels justified. That discipline is rare, and rarity creates power. In chaotic moments, most individuals are focused inward. They are trying to manage their own emotions. They are not fully present. The calm person, however, has excess awareness. Because they are not consumed by emotion, they can observe the environment clearly. They notice tone shifts, body language, and underlying motives. This awareness becomes a strategic advantage. Calm also disrupts provocation. Many conflicts escalate because one reaction feeds another. Emotion invites emotion. When you refuse to match intensity, the cycle breaks. Provocation loses its target. The person attempting to provoke often becomes unsettled when their efforts fail. Calm removes fuel from the fire. This is why calm can feel intimidating. It does not reveal vulnerability. It does not provide emotional cues to exploit. It forces others to confront their own behavior without distraction. When you remain composed, you deny others the satisfaction of controlling your state. That denial shifts power silently. Calm also buys time. Time is one of the most valuable resources in chaos. When you slow down, you allow incomplete information to surface. You allow impulsive statements to expose themselves. You allow emotions, both yours and others, to settle. Decisions made from calm last longer and cost less. This does not mean you avoid action. Calm action is decisive, not delayed. It is precise. When you act calmly, your movements are intentional, your words are clear, your presence feels grounded. People respond differently to this energy. They listen more carefully, they push less aggressively, they test fewer boundaries. In leadership, calm is essential. Teams mirror emotional states. A reactive leader spreads instability. A calm leader spreads confidence. Even in uncertainty, calm leadership reassures others that direction exists. This influence is subtle but powerful. It stabilizes environments that would otherwise fracture under pressure. Calm is also protective. It shields you from regret. Many mistakes are made in moments of emotional urgency. Words spoken cannot be retrieved. Actions taken cannot be undone. Calm creates a buffer between impulse and consequence. That buffer preserves reputation, relationships, and long-term positioning. Developing calm under pressure is a skill, not a personality trait. It is built through repetition. Each time you choose breath over reaction, observation over assumption, restraint over impulse, you reinforce calm as a default response. Over time, your nervous system learns that pressure does not require panic. When calm becomes familiar, chaos loses its grip. Situations that once overwhelmed you begin to feel manageable. You stop interpreting intensity as threat. You stop confusing urgency with importance. This shift changes how you experience challenges. They become problems to solve, not storms to survive. Calm also changes how others perceive you. People trust those who remain steady. They associate calm with competence. Even without speaking, your presence communicates reliability. This perception opens doors. It earns respect without demand. It establishes authority without force. Ultimately, calm is not the absence of emotion. It is mastery of it. You still feel tension, pressure, and uncertainty. But you are no longer driven by them. You use them as information rather than instruction. In chaotic situations, this mastery becomes a weapon. Not a loud one, not a visible one, but a decisive one. As you move forward, understand this clearly. Chaos will always exist. Pressure is unavoidable. What changes is your response. When you cultivate calm, you carry stability into unstable environments. That stability influences outcomes more than aggression ever could. Calm does not remove conflict. It gives you control within it. And control, when others lose theirs, is real power. Chapter 5. Emotional control is not suppression. Many people misunderstand what emotional control truly means. They imagine it as shutting down, becoming numb, or forcing themselves to feel nothing at all. Control is often confused with emotional coldness, rigidity, or denial. This misunderstanding creates more damage than growth, because suppression is not strength. Suppression is pressure, and pressure always looks for a way to escape. True emotional control works in the opposite direction. It does not destroy emotion, it transforms your relationship with it. Suppression happens when you push emotions down because you fear them. You tell yourself to ignore anger, dismiss sadness, or hide fear. On the surface, this may look like discipline, but internally it creates tension. The emotion does not disappear. It waits. Over time, suppressed emotions leak out as irritability, anxiety, exhaustion, passive aggression, or sudden emotional outbursts that seem to come from nowhere. This is not mastery. It is emotional debt accumulating interest. Mastery begins with allowance, not resistance. Emotional control starts when you let yourself feel what is present without judgment and without immediate action. You acknowledge anger without becoming violent. You feel fear without retreating. You experience sadness without collapsing. You stop treating emotion as a threat and start treating it as information. This shift alone changes everything. When you suppress emotion, awareness decreases. You become disconnected from yourself. When you master emotion, awareness increases. You recognize patterns. You notice triggers. You understand how your inner world responds to pressure. This awareness creates predictability, and predictability creates power. You are no longer surprised by your reactions because you no longer operate blindly. Emotional mastery means you feel deeply but act deliberately. You allow emotion to move through you without giving it control over your behavior. Emotion informs, action decides. When emotion decides, chaos follows. When action decides, structure forms. This distinction separates maturity from impulsiveness. Many people fear that if they allow themselves to feel fully, they will lose control. The opposite is true. What you resist persists. What you allow resolves. Emotions peak when they are acknowledged and fade when they are not fed by reaction. Suppression fuels intensity. Mastery releases it. Consider anger. Suppressed anger hardens into resentment. It becomes bitterness stored in the body and mind. Mastered anger becomes clarity. It shows you where boundaries were crossed. It sharpens awareness instead of destroying relationships. Fear follows the same pattern. Suppressed fear becomes anxiety. Mastered fear becomes caution and preparation. Sadness, when suppressed, turns into numbness. When mastered, it deepens empathy and emotional intelligence. This is why emotional control is not about appearing stoic on the surface. It is about being honest internally. You do not need to express everything you feel to everyone, but you must be willing to acknowledge it within yourself. Self-deception weakens control. Self-awareness strengthens it. Mastery also requires patience. Emotions move on their own timeline. You cannot rush them out without consequence. When you give emotions space, they complete their cycle naturally. This patience prevents impulsive decisions that create regret. It protects your integrity under pressure. Another critical difference between suppression and mastery is intention. Suppression is fear-driven. It happens because you are afraid of losing control. Mastery is trust-driven. It happens because you trust yourself to feel without collapsing. That trust changes your relationship with intensity. Emotion no longer feels dangerous. It feels manageable. People who master their emotions often appear calm, not because nothing affects them, but because they have internal space. They are not crowded by unprocessed feelings. They can think clearly while feeling deeply. This internal space allows them to respond proportionally instead of explosively. Emotional mastery also builds resilience. When emotions are processed instead of buried, they do not accumulate. Stress does not linger. Conflict does not poison the future. Each experience completes itself rather than bleeding into the next moment. This lightness improves focus, decision-making, sleep quality, and long-term mental clarity. Your relationships change as well. When you stop suppressing emotion, you stop projecting it outward. You listen more accurately. You respond less defensively. Conversations become cleaner. Boundaries become clearer. You stop reacting to people through the lens of unresolved emotion. The goal is not emotional absence. The goal is emotional leadership. You lead your inner world instead of being ruled by it. You feel everything, but you obey nothing blindly. This balance is rare, and it is powerful. As you integrate this principle, remember this clearly. Emotional control is not silence inside. It is ordered. It is clear. It is the ability to experience emotion fully without being hijacked by it. This mastery protects your energy, your relationships, and your future decisions. It allows you to stay human without becoming reactive. And over time, this quiet discipline reshapes your character. You become grounded under pressure, steady in conflict, and trustworthy in moments when others collapse. That is real emotional strength, built slowly, honestly, and deliberately. Chapter 6. Why strong people don't explain themselves. One of the clearest signs of emotional strength is the ability to resist the urge to explain yourself. Most people feel compelled to justify their choices, defend their intentions, and correct every misunderstanding. They believe explanation protects their image. In reality, constant explanation slowly erodes authority. Strong people understand a difficult truth. You do not need to be understood by everyone to be grounded in yourself. The urge to explain comes from discomfort. When someone questions you, misunderstands you, or judges you unfairly, the nervous system reacts. It wants relief. It wants validation. It wants control of the narrative. Explaining feels like regaining balance, but that relief is temporary, and the cost is long-term. Each unnecessary explanation hands power outward. When you explain yourself excessively, you signal insecurity. Not because your reasons are wrong, but because you feel the need to be accepted. People sense this. They learn that your boundaries are negotiable. They learn that pressure produces compliance. Over time, explanations become expectations, and expectations become demands. Strong people are clear, not defensive. They understand that clarity does not require justification. They know who they are, what they value, and why they choose certain paths. This internal certainty reduces the need for external approval. When your inner foundation is stable, misunderstandings become tolerable rather than threatening. There is also a practical reason strong people limit explanation. Not everyone listens in good faith. Some people ask questions to understand. Others ask questions to challenge, control, or provoke. Explaining to the wrong audience drains energy and deepens conflict. Silence protects you from engaging in conversations that were never meant to reach resolution. This does not mean strong people never explain anything. It means they explain selectively. When explanation serves clarity, alignment, or collaboration, they offer it calmly and briefly. When explanation serves ego defense, they withhold it. Discernment replaces reflex. Many people fear that not explaining will make them appear rude or arrogant. In reality, excessive explanations often appear weak. It communicates that you are unsure of your own decisions. Silence, when paired with consistency, communicates confidence. People may not like it, but they respect it. Another hidden cost of explaining is emotional entanglement. When you explain yourself, you open space for argument. Each justification invites counter-argument. The conversation shifts from understanding to persuasion. This trap keeps you emotionally invested in outcomes you cannot control. Strong people avoid this cycle by refusing to debate their existence. Not explaining yourself also strengthens boundaries. Boundaries are not maintained through argument. They are maintained through action. When you state a boundary once and enforce it consistently, explanation becomes unnecessary. Repetition weakens boundaries. Consistency reinforces them. There is also a psychological shift that occurs when you stop explaining. You begin to trust yourself more deeply. You stop outsourcing validation. You realize that clarity does not require consensus. This realization is liberating. It frees mental space previously occupied by rumination and self-doubt. Strong people accept being misunderstood. They understand that misunderstanding is part of independence. When you choose differently, think differently, or move differently, not everyone will approve. Trying to manage everyone's perception is exhausting and impossible. Letting go of that responsibility restores peace. This principle applies powerfully in emotional situations. When emotions run high, explanations rarely land as intended. People hear through the filter of their own state. Silence often communicates more effectively than words. It allows emotions to settle. It prevents escalation. It preserves dignity. Not explaining also interrupts manipulation. Manipulative individuals rely on extracting explanations. They use questions to create doubt and guilt. When you stop feeding this dynamic, their leverage disappears. Calm refusal to justify disarm control attempts without confrontation. This does not mean becoming distant or closed. It means becoming centered. You can be open without being exposed. You can be kind without being compliant. You can be silent without being passive. Strength lives in this balance. Over time, limiting explanation changes how others interact with you. People become more careful with their words. They push less. They respect limits more quickly. Your presence feels solid rather than reactive. This shift is subtle but profound. The discipline of not explaining is uncomfortable at first. The urge to clarify will rise. Let it rise. Observe it. Do not obey it automatically. Each time you choose restraint, you reinforce self-trust. You prove that you can tolerate misunderstanding without collapsing. Ultimately, strong people do not explain themselves because they do not need to convince others of their worth. They act from alignment, not approval. Their energy is invested in action, not justification. This quiet confidence is felt even when nothing is said. As you integrate this lesson, remember this clearly. You do not owe everyone an explanation. You owe yourself integrity. When you stop explaining unnecessarily, you reclaim time, energy, and emotional control. You become less reactive, more grounded, and harder to manipulate. Silence becomes a boundary. Restraint becomes authority. And your calm presence speaks louder than any justification ever could. Chapter 7. Training your nervous system to stay in control. The truth is simple yet profound. Your ability to stay calm in a storm depends on your nervous system. Your mind may want to stay clear and in control, but if your body is primed to react, all your reasoning can quickly be overrun by emotion. This is why emotional control is not just a mental game, it is a physiological one. The ability to stay in control when everything around you is chaotic requires training your nervous system to respond in a different way. It requires learning to manage your body's natural response to stress and pressure. Most people don't realize that their bodies are conditioned to react. Your nervous system is constantly scanning for threats, and when something feels unsafe, whether it's a tense conversation, a stressful situation, or even an unexpected glance, your body prepares for action. Your heart rate increases. Your muscles tense. Your breath becomes shallow. In those moments, you are not fully in control. Your body is running the show, not your mind. This biological response is part of being human, but what separates the people who lead themselves from those who don't is the ability to manage these physical reactions. Training your nervous system starts with understanding that your body and your mind are connected. They are not separate entities. The physical reactions you experience in moments of stress are the result of neural pathways that have been created over time. Your body doesn't know the difference between a life-threatening danger and a challenging conversation at work. It reacts in the same way, with heightened alertness. Over time, if you don't intervene, these reactions become automatic, and you become a prisoner of your own body's responses. The first step in training your nervous system is awareness. You need to recognize when you're starting to slip into a reactive state. You need to understand what triggers you, whether it's a tone of voice, a specific situation, or even a particular person. Once you identify the triggers, you can start to create new pathways. You can train yourself to respond differently. It's not about eliminating the triggers, it's about managing how you react to them. One of the most effective ways to train your nervous system is through breath work. The simple act of slowing down your breath can have a profound effect on your body's reaction to stress. When you breathe deeply and slowly, you signal to your body that it is not in danger. You tell your nervous system that it does not need to go into fight or flight mode. You activate the parasympathetic nervous system, which calms the body down and brings it back into balance. Start by practicing slow, deep breathing every day. Inhale deeply through your nose, allowing your lungs to fill completely. Then exhale slowly through your mouth, making the exhale longer than the inhale. This simple practice can begin to train your nervous system to respond to stress in a more balanced way. Over time, your body will begin to recognize that stress does not always require a heightened response. It will become familiar with the idea that you are in control of your reactions. In addition to breath work, mindfulness practices can also help train your nervous system. Mindfulness allows you to become more aware of the present moment, which is essential when your body wants to take over. When you practice mindfulness, you can observe your thoughts and feelings without being swept away by them. This practice teaches you to step back and assess the situation before reacting, rather than simply responding from a place of habit or emotion. Over time, mindfulness creates the space between feeling and action that we've discussed earlier. It gives you the ability to pause, breathe, and choose how you want to respond. The more you practice these techniques, the more you will be able to retrain your nervous system. You will begin to notice that your body no longer responds to stress with the same intensity. You will have more control over your reactions. You will find that you can stay calm in situations that would have previously overwhelmed you. This doesn't mean you will never feel stress or anxiety again. It means that when those feelings arise, you will have the tools to manage them without losing control. It's also important to remember that training your nervous system takes time. It's not a quick fix. You won't go from being easily triggered to being calm and in control overnight. But every time you practice deep breathing or mindfulness, you're building new pathways in your brain and your body. With consistent effort, these new pathways will replace the old automatic responses. You will begin to respond to stress with a sense of calm, clarity, and control. Another key aspect of training your nervous system is self-compassion. It's easy to become frustrated with yourself when you find yourself slipping back into old patterns of reacting. But every time you notice that you're reacting and take a moment to pause, you're strengthening your ability to control your responses. Self-compassion means acknowledging that change takes time and that mistakes are part of the process. Be patient with yourself. Every step forward is progress. Over time, as your nervous system becomes more conditioned to respond with calm rather than reactivity, you will notice a shift in how you handle stress. You will begin to feel more resilient. Your ability to stay present in challenging situations will improve. And most importantly, you will begin to trust yourself. You will trust that you have the ability to manage your emotions no matter what life throws at you. Training your nervous system is not just about handling stress in the moment. It is about building a foundation of emotional resilience that will serve you for the rest of your life. When you master your nervous system, you master your responses. You take control of your emotional life and stop letting external circumstances dictate how you feel and act. You become your own anchor in a world that is constantly shifting and changing. So, start today. Begin with your breath. Become aware of your triggers. Practice mindfulness. Each small step you take will bring you closer to the calm, controlled life you desire. Your nervous system is yours to train. With practice and patience, you will become someone who stays centered, regardless of the chaos around you. Chapter 8. When you stop reacting, your life changes. Imagine waking up every morning knowing that nothing and no one has the power to take you out of your center. Imagine walking through your day without the constant pressure to react, explain, or defend yourself. Instead, you move with intention, with a quiet strength that doesn't need to prove anything to anyone. This is what happens when you stop reacting. This is the transformation that comes with mastering your emotional responses. When you stop reacting, everything changes. Your relationships change. Your career changes. Your sense of self changes. Why? Because when you stop reacting, you reclaim the power to choose how you respond to the world around you. You no longer let external circumstances dictate your emotional state. Instead, you decide, consciously and deliberately, how you want to feel and how you want to act. This shift in how you respond is not just about handling difficult situations more effectively. It's about stepping into a new level of control over your life. When you no longer react, you stop giving away your emotional energy. You stop giving away your peace, your focus, your time. You stop allowing others or situations to pull you into their drama. Instead, you begin to create your own reality, one where you are the leader, not a passive participant. Think about it for a moment. How much of your life is spent reacting? How often do you find yourself responding to situations in a way that you later regret? Maybe you lash out in anger at a colleague who criticizes you, or you argue with your partner over something that, in hindsight, wasn't worth the emotional energy. These reactions are often immediate, driven by impulse, by feelings of defensiveness, pride, or insecurity. But here's the reality. These moments of reactivity cost you. They cost you your peace, your clarity, and your sense of control. When you stop reacting, you stop giving away these pieces of yourself. You start holding on to your energy, and in doing so, you make space for something more powerful. Intention. Instead of reacting to every little thing that comes your way, you pause, you breathe, you give yourself a moment to decide how you want to respond. This moment is your choice, and the more you practice it, the stronger and more consistent it becomes. You begin to create a habit of responding intentionally, of choosing your actions from a place of inner strength and calm. One of the biggest changes that comes with stopping reactions is a profound sense of inner peace. When you stop reacting, you stop living in a constant state of fight or flight. You stop carrying emotional baggage that isn't yours to carry. You begin to feel lighter, more at ease, and more aligned with who you really are. You stop reacting out of fear, frustration, or anger, and instead, you act from a place of self-respect and inner calm. This inner peace is a magnetic force. People notice when you stop reacting. They notice the strength in your silence, the power in your calmness. They notice the way you handle stress with grace, the way you navigate conflict with dignity. You become a person who cannot be easily rattled, and this presence, this unshakable peace, becomes a form of leadership in itself. Others are drawn to it, and they begin to respect you more, both personally and professionally. They begin to look to you for guidance, for wisdom, and for reassurance because you are no longer just reacting. You are leading. Your relationships, too, will change. When you stop reacting, you stop engaging in unhealthy emotional exchanges. You stop being pulled into arguments and drama. Instead of engaging in a fight, you create space. This space allows you to listen, to understand, and to respond thoughtfully, rather than reacting impulsively. This transforms your relationships. You stop trying to control others, and you allow them to be who they are. You stop defending yourself and start choosing peace over conflict. Your relationships become more authentic, more grounded, and more connected. In your career, the change is just as profound. You stop reacting to every email, every meeting, every demand. Instead of feeling overwhelmed and overextended, you begin to prioritize. You decide what truly matters and invest your energy in those areas. You begin to make decisions with clarity and purpose, not with the emotional baggage that often comes with reacting to external pressures. This is how you start to rise above the noise. You become someone who handles pressure with ease, who makes decisions from a place of calm, and who remains focused even in the most challenging situations. But perhaps the most significant change comes within yourself. When you stop reacting, you stop giving your power away. You reclaim control over your emotions, your thoughts, and your actions. This is true empowerment. It is the power to choose how you want to experience life, no matter what challenges or difficulties arise. And in this power, you find your true strength. You are no longer at the mercy of external circumstances. You are no longer tossed around by every wave of emotion. Instead, you are the anchor, steady and unshakable, grounded in who you are and where you stand. When you stop reacting, you also stop blaming others for how you feel. You stop giving other people the power to control your emotional state. This is a huge shift in mindset. You stop seeing yourself as a victim of circumstance. Instead, you begin to see yourself as the creator of your experience. You take full responsibility for your emotional responses, and in doing so, you empower yourself to shape your life in a way that is aligned with your true values. The key to this transformation is practice. It takes time to stop reacting, to create that pause between feeling and action. It takes consistency, patience, and awareness. But every time you choose not to react, you strengthen your ability to lead yourself. And as you continue this practice, you begin to notice something remarkable. You are no longer at the mercy of the world around you. You are no longer at the mercy of your emotions. You are in control, and your life begins to shift. So, as you move forward in your journey, remember this: the moment you stop reacting is the moment your life truly begins to change. You will experience more peace, more clarity, and more purpose. You will lead with strength, and you will inspire others to do the same. Your emotional mastery will become your superpower, and everything around you will change because of it. As we wrap up today's session, let's take a moment to reflect on the key principles we've explored together. The journey to mastering emotional control isn't just about handling difficult situations in a calm manner. It's about reclaiming your power, about stopping the automatic reactions that have been draining your energy, peace, and potential for far too long. The tools we've discussed are meant to be practiced, not just understood. They are the path to a life where you are in control, not at the mercy of your emotions, circumstances, or others' behavior. We began by understanding that reacting impulsively only gives away your power. Each reaction takes a piece of your peace. It's in the space between feeling and acting where true power lies. Calm, as we learned, is not passive or weak. It is a weapon that can change the course of any chaotic situation. In the face of pressure, the one who can remain steady controls the flow. That's where leadership, both in your own life and in the lives of others, begins. We also discussed how emotional control does not mean suppression. It's not about pushing feelings away. Instead, it's about feeling fully while not letting those feelings dictate your actions. Real strength is in being able to feel deeply but still make conscious, deliberate choices. When you allow emotions to come and go without being swept away by them, you find a deeper sense of inner calm and confidence. We explored the importance of selective engagement, why not everything deserves your emotional reaction. Constantly explaining, defending, or reacting to every trigger just exhausts you. It shifts the power away from you and into the hands of those who know how to provoke you. But when you choose what matters and let the rest go, you reclaim your emotional sovereignty. You begin to focus your energy on what truly deserves your attention, allowing you to make decisions from a place of strength and clarity, not emotion. Finally, we discussed the significance of training your nervous system. Emotional control is not just a mental shift, it's a physiological change. Your body must learn to respond differently to stress. With breathwork, mindfulness, and intentional practice, you train your nervous system to calm down faster, so you can respond to challenges with balance instead of being overwhelmed. As we come to the end of this video, remember that these concepts are not just theoretical, they are practical skills. Every time you pause before reacting, you're training your mind and body to take back control. Every time you choose to breathe rather than react, you're building a new, stronger habit. Over time, this new way of being will become second nature. You'll find that chaos no longer rattles you. You'll approach life with a deep, unshakable sense of peace and clarity. Now, I encourage you to take what you've learned today and start practicing immediately. Notice the moments in your daily life where you can choose calm over reaction. Practice the pause, feel the space between stimulus and response, and make a conscious choice about how you want to engage. As you do this, your inner strength will grow, and your life will begin to change in ways you may not have thought possible. Thank you for joining me in this video. I appreciate you taking the time to invest in yourself and your growth. Remember, emotional mastery is not something you accomplish overnight, but with consistent practice, you will get there. Keep practicing, stay patient with yourself, and know that each small step forward is progress. I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Until then, stay calm, stay in control, and keep choosing your power.